Hey everyone, Enrique here. Welcome to another video. Today's video is going to once again be a top 10, but in this case, I'm gonna make it into a top 10 favorite shows, in particular from a series that has already ended called Super Sentai. Now, quick backstory for those who don't know about me. I grew up watching Power Rangers. Power Rangers became one of the few things that I became an instant fan of, alongside Spider Man in the Marvel Universe. This is something that is connected to me since I was born. I couldn't stop watching Power Rangers, but as I got older, I started to learn about where they come from, or at the very least, where the footage of the fight scenes, the monsters, and the Megazords come from. And that is from a series called Super Sentai. And after I learned that and started watching all those series, I realized how great that those particular shows were, and that they were more than just 30 heroes. They were like at the time, pretty much 20 something, and now we have like 50 members of Super Sentai. It's crazy to think, but it just goes to show you the power that this particular show had in Japan and now in some of the fans worldwide. But now the show has ended, and then it's just sad to say. But that's why I'm making this video. Now, if you already watched my reviews on series like Boukenger and Gozyuger, then check those out. Now, the reason I also making this video is because unfortunately at the time of this video, when I release it, is because some of the websites that I used to watch all those series of Super Sentai to get an idea and to get some of the pictures to get the context of the episode are unfortunately gone, like Tokuzul, Tokuzilla, Sokaj, and the sites that used to house some of the shows from Super Sentai that were, in English translation. Unfortunately, those are gone, and there's nothing I can do about it. And they were all taken down by Toei in particular. I don't know what was the reason. Some fans are watching other series from Tokusatsu like Ultraman, Kamen Rider, and Project Red, which is the newest one. But I haven't been able to find where they're watching it so I can see where they're housing some of the episodes of Super Sentai. In any case, unfortunately, I won't be able to get more episodes of Gozyuger. Maybe from Boukenger if I'm lucky, but that's not a guarantee. So unfortunately, I won't be able to give my thoughts on the episodes. So you're gonna have to wait for a while until I found a place where I can watch the shows again. But in any case, just because I won't be able to give you the reviews of the episodes, that doesn't mean I can give you my thoughts on some of the shows that I have already watched, because I did my own marathon on the episodes of the majority of the Super Sentai shows. So I'll be able to comment, and that's why I'm making this top 10 to talk about my favorite Super Sentai shows of all time. And that's what I'm doing this video. Now, before we begin, it's important to mention that this is the list of my favorite episodes or not my favorite episodes, my favorite shows of Super Sentai. I'm not saying which one is the best. This is not a top 10 best shows of Super Sentai. This is not that type of video because, in all honesty, likes and tastes are subjective, and everybody has their own likings, and everybody will have their own dislikes when it comes to Super Sentai. So that's not what I'm going to do here. What I'm going to do is just talk about the shows that I did watch, that I did found enjoyable, and one of my personal favorites. The ones that you'll see even in the top 10 as well. But for now, I'm just gonna give you my honest thoughts and opinions. So if you have problems with my top 10, then stop the video here, because this is not going to be, that kind of show or that kind of top 10. So please keep an open mind trying to be as, open-minded as possible, and trying not to leave any mean comments in the comment section below. Like, this is a quote: like what you like, just don't be a dick about it, okay? So, with all that said, let's start. These are my top 10 favorite shows from Super Sentai. Number 10. Kaito Sentai Lupa Ranger versus Keitsu Sentai Pato Ranger. This is one of the few Sentai shows that depicts two different factions of Super Sentai fighting each other, and we see the idea of cops and robbers dueling each other, as well as fighting the monsters of the week. What is the story behind this season? Well, the story is about a three group of rangers, or a three group of phantom thieves, the Lupa Rangers, who are stealing the collective items from the monsters of the week, which is a mafia gang from, outer space, outer dimensions, in which if they collect all the items, they can make one big wish that each individual wants to do. And all the while, we see the police, which is the Pato Rangers, seeing the chaos and believing that the Phantom Thieves are criminals and trying everything they can to stop them, but also stopping the alien mafia from taking over. So it's pretty much a battle between two different faction groups, all in an effort to see which one gets it first. So, to compare this season to, say, something like, I don't know, the crossovers from all the original Sentai shows, it's the idea taking of two different factions of Rangers and pitting them all against each other to see which one is better, only for in the end to see the two factions uniting forces against a greater evil. Well, imagine that in the entire season of Super Sentai, or at the very least one season that dedicates that idea into each episode. And that is what we see right here. Fun fact, this was an idea that not only was inspired from those crossovers, but maybe from an idea of, using a season of Power Rangers in which we see different old factions of different Rangers pivoting against each other, and it was supposed to be a clean slate. It was supposed to be actually the season that Ninja Storm was supposed to be based on, but for reasons unknown, the idea was scrambled. In any case, this is the idea, taking it into Sentai shows, and honestly, I do enjoy it. I find the motif of of cops and robbers finding each other with their weapons, some of the motifs of the Megazords are different, and the vehicles. For example, the vehicles for the Lupa Rangers are more about flying jets, all the while we see the cops using more ground vehicles like cars and other trucks. And that is something that is also that I like about this season. The different items that they have for each individual team of Lupa Ranger and Pat Ranger. One of my favorite characters from that season has to be the Red Pato One Ichigo, the Pat Red, if you want, and that is Keiichiro. He is a hot-headed individual who really is nothing more but a man dedicated to his duty. But just like any other member, it starts to mellow down, and it actually goes through a character arc in which we see him see the perspective of the Lupa Rangers just a little bit more, even though he has a strong sense of duty and responsibility to the people he's abide to protect and serve. So I really enjoy that. And I also enjoy the rest of the cast members. I enjoy Kairi, the Lupa Red. I enjoy Blue and Yellow's arc. The Lupa Rangers have their own unique arcs that connects them all together. All the while we see the Pattern Rangers, Green and Pink, also having their own motivations and personalities. And I do like that. So yeah, most people that I know said that this is the lowest of the season, but I don't know. Looking at it in a vacuum, I do find myself enjoying the motif and enjoying the motif of cops and robbers with their own individual swords and combinations. I do like that. Also, the monsters all look creative and crazy enough in their own right. So yeah, definitely a highlight in among my number 10. Number 9. Totsoi Sentai Deca Ranger. This is following the motif of police officers, but this is coming out in 2004. This is taking the idea of the police officers as the main course or the main thing of the entire season. In this case, this was what Power Rangers SPD based on its footage from. It's the idea of intergalactic police officers in Earth Branch fighting all the aliens that are invading the planet and using their sets of weapons and vehicles to take them down. So, why do I like this season? Well, there's a reason why they dedicated not one but two anniversary specials for Deca Ranger. It's because the stories are great, the monsters that they have on that show are all unique and wonderful and creepy on their own. The idea of investigation using alien technology is also fascinating. Interacting with different creatures and seeing how they all are following investigations. It's like a noir, except that it's taking place in not the future, but in a different time, in a time where aliens and people and humans are living together, something like that. So I enjoy that. The suits on the Deca Rangers, I love them so much. They all look awesome and unique in their own. I love the one with Deca Master, which is the one with the dog becomes a Deca Ranger. So I enjoy that as well. What are my favorite characters from this season? That will be Deca Red, aka Ban, and Umeko, aka Deca Pink. Those two have a lot of things that they have in common. Ban is the newest member of the team and he has a chip on his shoulder. Wants to prove himself to be a great man with a moral sense of justice, even though he's very hot-headed and tends to be, very hot when the situation gets even close. But he has a strong sense of duty and responsibility to the people, and he's willing to go through anybody to get the job done. I like his interactions with Hoji, aka Deca Blue, whenever they are interacting, as almost a love-hate relationship, always butting heads about being partners or not. I like that. About Omeko, she's the youngest of the group and the one who has a lot to prove to herself and to the others, as she wants to be taken more seriously, but she tends to sometimes be a little bit irresponsible or be a little too cutesy tootsie, if you will. But by the end, she starts to become a more badass police officer, and she definitely is one of my favorite characters for the fact that she goes through that arc. The rest are great. Hoji being the calm and collected, but also butting heads with Van. Senchin, Deca Green, being the calm and collected member of the group, always thinking outside the box. Jasmine being more analytical, using her powers of mind reading and being able to predict or at the very least sense the situation and be more let loose, if you will. There's a lot of characters in this season, a lot of people who become rangers in this. So I cannot list them all except for the one I mentioned, Deca Master. But definitely I enjoy that. I enjoy the motif of police officers taking down the villains using their mech suits and their weapons. I really enjoy that. And the music is amazing and gives you pump into action. So definitely a good highlight for this season. Number 8. Bakuru Sentai Ava Rangers. This was the previous season before Deca Ranger, in which it only focuses on a group of 3 individuals as rangers, in this case the Ava Rangers. It is also the second team to use the dinosaur motif for this season. Before this one, it was Zoo Ranger, which was the season that Power Rangers based on for the first 3 seasons. And this one is the second one. In this case, the Ava Rangers are a group of three in which they're imbued with powers of the dinosaurs from another dimension. In this case, mechanical dinosaurs with their own personalities and voices, and all of them fighting the forces from another dimension. What I like about this season in particular is the comedy and the emotional moments that they added. The three members, Ryoga, the Abare Blue, Abare Red, Ryukito Abare Blue, and Renru, the Abare Yellow, are all great individuals. Ryoga being the more upbeat version of the Red Ranger, also being the first single father on a season. Yukito, the calm and also very cold member of the Rangers, being there assessing the situation and being a little bit more collective when it comes to how to fight the villains. Ranru, very excited woman, but also very smart and savvy when it comes to technology or how to fight the bad guys. All three individuals are what makes this season great. But it's not to say that all the rest are forgettable. Abare Black, in this case Asuka, also has some conflict, internal conflict with the bad guys and with himself, as he has a dark past but still chooses to surround himself with good people. Avare Killer, arguably the most deadliest member of the Ava Rangers, as he stars as a villain, but you don't know where his plans and his motivations will land into. Always trying the fence of good and evil, and sometimes he leans towards a more evil side, and is only doing this because it's only exciting for him. Now, the designs of the Rangers, the Ava Rangers, are pretty simple but very striking, and you get what each individual is doing, so you have a fun time seeing how they fight the bad guys with their own motifs, using their mechanical dinosaurs, combining them together into one giant robot to fight the monsters, and using some of the other mechanical dinosaurs as other arms and other add-ins so they can fight. It's amazing to see, and I like that the dinosaurs also have their distinct personalities and voices, because it helps you identify with them a lot more, and it makes this season very emotional. And that's the thing, the core of this season entirely, it has to be surrounding the members, because each member has their own story, their own past, their own perspective, and you feel sympathizing with each individual, so you really have a good time, and the music gets you excited as well. It makes you want to go and fight and also make friends at the same time. It's hard to say, but it's one of the reasons I love this season. And speaking of emotional turmoils, number 7, Chojin Sentai Jetman, the season that saved Super Sentai from cancellation in 1992, and for a good reason. In this season, we see a group of 5 individuals being transferred or having the powers of and I hope you're sitting down for this name, the Birdonic Waves. Birdonic Waves. Whenever you say it out loud, it sounds ridiculous, and I love it. But yeah, this set of powers that imbues them have the powers of every flying bird in existence. And they're using these powers against a group of faction from another dimension in which they are there to conquer the world. And this group of individuals now have to not only find a way to cope with each other as well as support each other, but to join forces in order to fight this new threat. And who knows how they're gonna fight him, but they always find a way to fight these forces together. Why this season in particular was so good that managed to save the entire Super Sentai from cancellation? Well, it has to do with the fact that it's treated less like a superhero show and be more of a soap opera. What I mean by that is that the individuals, the characters, our heroes and villains, all have like their own stories and dramas. You can compare this season to, say, a telenovela from, Latin America, or a soap opera from United States, or whatever. The point is that each character is imbued into their own struggles, particularly romantic ones. A good example is the three characters from Jetman: Ryu, which is Red Hawk, Kaori, the White Swan, and Guy, the Black Condor. This is pretty much a love triangle, and that it's almost the focal point of the season. We see Ryu's depression, but also sense of moral justice to not only bring justice to the world, but also to avenge the memory of his beloved woman that he lost during this conflict. Kaori be recruited into this team only to fall in love with the leader, Ryu. And Black Condor, aka Guy, being the bad boy that every woman loves, and pretty much being jealous of Ryu and also having feelings for Kaori. You can figure that this is something that not only kids like, but also the mothers and women of the audience love so much, because everybody loves this type of drama. They love to see a love triangle. They like to see the people finding each other for their affections. But it's not just that. It's the fact that it also shows what happens when you bring a group of people with their own distinct personalities, as well as their own problems of their own. So that is something that you enjoy mostly when you watch this season. But it's not to say that it's not just them, it's also the villains. In this case, the Dimensional War Party Byron. In this case, the Byron are other creatures from another dimension that want to do a lot of world conquest. But each individual has its own motivation and their own plans. Radiget, the leader, all having his own dilemmas. Tranza, we also see Gray, Maria, all fighting against each other to see which one can take down the Jetman, and it creates a lot of internal conflicts between the villains. So it's pretty much that. People from different lives or different forms of view fighting each other, but also finding camaraderie with each other. And that is something that I really enjoy. The focus is not so much on the suits, since they don't focus on those moments, but it's good to see that they use it to advance the story and advance the action as well. So they serve their purpose as well, despite being one of the cheapest seasons that they have to make. I'm not kidding. Some of the things look dated in hindsight, but they also make part of what makes this season incredible as well. Number 6. Avataro Sentai Dumb Brothers, or aka the Super Sentai version of Seinfeld. I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? Well, this was the 46 team before Senkaiger. In fact, some are said that this shares a connection with that previous season. But let's look at it on its own. It's about 4 members, or 4 people from different lights being summoned by a natural force into being led by Don Momotaro. Don Momotaro is the leader of the Dumb Brothers, guiding them into these strange new facets in their lives and fighting all the monsters of the week. So, how can I describe this season? Because it's hard to describe it even when I say so myself. Well, it has to do with the fact that Dumb Brothers is a show that, as many said, probably is about nothing, since all the members are not fighting the forces of evil, but forces that are, taking over people's minds. It's hard to say what it is that they are fighting, but it's clear that it's not like any other Sentai season that came before them. It's pretty much Monster of the Week, fight them, and then go back to their regular lives like nothing has happened. It's more about the comedy, if you will, because each individual has their own stories and dilemmas, and all of them trying to figure out how to be superheroes at the same time. But it's pretty much like that. Don Momotaro is leading this group of people with their own unique powers into battle, while also fighting another faction of members, in this case the Noto trio, who are also hunting down humans who become monsters. And that is the thing, the humans of this world turn into monsters, sometimes with the motif of the original Sentai shows, and that's something that Momotaro and his team has to fight against, while also preventing the Noto trio to, erasing the people and killing them. So that makes it interesting on its own. But what makes it even more interesting is that it just embraces the comedy a lot more. One of my favorite characters in this season are Don Momotaro, or in this case, Taro Momoi, and of course Haruka Kitoi, on his sister. Momotaro, or Momoi, is pretty much a guy who is unfazed by anything. It's like he doesn't show emotion. He almost fake laughs whenever he is in ranger form. He's pretty much abusing his teammates, but also fighting with each other in order to defeat the monster of the week. He's just one of those guys that you don't know how to pick, but you're so curious about the way he behaves and the way he acts that you just cannot take away your eyes from him. It's just ridiculous. And as far as Haruka, she's one of my favorite Yellow Rangers of this season, because she's like the girl that has everything, loses it all, because when you become a Dawn Brother, you have bad luck. And she got a lot of bad luck by being outed as a plagiarist, even though she didn't do anything that plagiaristic, having to be forced to work as a waitress in a cafe restaurant, and just being abused by Momotaro, and just having a lot of crap be handed to her. It's just ridiculous. But one of the things that I like about Haruka is that she's not your typical Yellow Ranger or even Pink Ranger, because she's so outed, she's so explosive, she's so crazy on her own right, and funny as hell. I'm not telling you, the actress who plays her, what was her name? Kohaku Shida, is actually pretty hilarious. I don't know about you, but she's definitely one of the highlights of this season, and I like the fact that she is very explosive and crazy in her own right. So that's what I like about this season. And I like the motif that they use, being a little bit virtual, because you don't know if this is taking place in a computer or not. But it's honestly an aspect that you just say, I'm just here for the comedy, if that makes any sense. So I definitely recommend that. It's just one of my personal favorites. Number 5. Number 1 Sentai, Gozyuger. Now, I know what a lot of people will say, that this is not the greatest season of them all, that it's not as good as, say, Boukenger, that it has a lot of problems, particularly with the final episodes and what happened behind the scenes, and I already talked about it in my previous videos. However, why do I consider this a number 5 in my personal list? Well, because this is the first Sentai show that I subconsciously decided to watch from beginning to end, and honestly, I just like the way the story and characters flow. It's just a personal preference, and it connects to me somehow. So what's the story? An entity called Tegasor imbues 5 individuals with ring powers, in which they can use it to combat not only the forces of Bryden, which is the supposed evil faction in quotation marks, but also because they're fighting other universal warriors, also from previous Sentai shows. And they are having to fight against each other in order to become number 1, so Tegasor can fulfill a wish that an individual has. Why do I like this season? Not only do I like the motif of being number 1 and having individuals fighting against each other, but also fighting together against other greater forces, but I also like the fact that it's also paying a little bit tribute of Super Sentai in its own unique way, like having all the newest members fighting the original Universal Warriors, only they're being used by different individuals with their own unique stories. That's what I like at the most part. But I also like the aesthetics. I like the concept of the suits. I like the battles with the Bryden and the Calamity. I like the each character has his own unique stories. Hoero being the lone wolf, Rico being the idol star, Ryuji being a complete take a sword cult or a zealot or something like that. Kinjino being an old man become young again and having partying all the time, and so many more. But the one that obviously I like the most is Sumino. And you already know her story, but it's pretty much that funny, young, high class, luxurious detective looking for her sister and also being a source of not only levity and grounded level, but also of funny moments as well. And yeah, this is the first season that I enjoy personally. That's why I said this is my top 10 favorite Sentai shows. It's not mean to say which one is the best. So obviously you can say that this is not the best show, but why I rank it number 5 is because of those personal reasons and because there are so many things on this show that I enjoy the most. The battles, by the way, being summoned and how they present those, that's something that I really enjoy as well. I like the concept of the ring powers. It's similar to Green Lantern, if you will, and it just makes it a little bit more fun. And it gives the opportunity to not just the 5 members of the Rangers to shine, but also the people that they interact with. This is pretty much seeing how the Gozyugers are finding different versions of the original Sentai Red Rangers. And I do like that each individual has his own story and motivations. So that's what I like. The sword battles also are great. The music gets me pumped. And yeah, that overall my favorite season of this of Super Sentai. And the best is yet to come. Number 4, QQ Sentai Go-Go 5. This season is pretty much running in the motif of rescuers saving people's lives from different creatures. In this case, we see the group of 5 siblings finding their father for the first time and finding out that there is a demonic force called the Phasma family attacking Earth. And it's up to these 5 individuals to fight the demons and save the people from destruction. So, what do I like about this season? Well, the stakes and the action gets higher. You see the whole chaos and destruction that the Phasma are causing, and it makes the situation and the heroes put into peril, but also makes them more motivated than ever to keep fighting. And that's what I like. One of the things that makes me enjoy this season the most is the sibling dynamic. Now, this is not the first season to do so. The previous one was 5-man, and the next one is going to be Magi Ranger, which we see different groups of siblings having to find not only their internal conflicts, but also to find support in each other to fight the forces of evil. Here is no exception. But one of the things that I like the most is that each of them have to deal with their own personal struggles of their own. Matoi, Nagare, Sho, Diamond, Natsuri, and those 5 siblings having to grow up without parents and finding out that their father is still alive, and that brings a lot of conflict to each other, yet they put all those things aside in order to help the people in need. That's something that I really enjoy. The comedy is also welcome. The dramatic moments between the characters is also interesting as well. See how they deal with their father absent, how they deal with growing up without anybody except with each other. Matoi being the Red Ranger and the oldest member of the group, having to raise them all by himself and just putting a lot of weight up around their shoulders in order to become members of society, especially become rescuers in their own right. Matoi being a fireman alongside his brother Nagare and Sho. Natsuri becoming an emergency nurse doctor. Diamond becoming a police officer or guard. and all of them figuring out how to navigate these new strange situations in which the only way that they could go through is by supporting each other and helping each other. And that's something that I really enjoy. The rescue motif and the fact that they're using the vehicles that their father is cooking for them in order to fight the Feisma family is something that I really enjoy. The Feisma are not necessarily that memorable for me as villains, but they also have their own unique stories, and I like that they also have their own sibling dynamic between each other, which contrasts with the Go-Go 5 members. So yeah, definitely a highlight, but I definitely like how the conflicts and the internal story of rescuers being in a peril situation and coming out on top, that's something I really enjoy personally. Number 3, Junkin Sentai Geki Ranger. This season focuses on martial arts, as there's this group called the Geki Juken who are the good guys, recruiting the youngest member called Jan in order to fight the bad guys, in this case the Rinjuken, led by Ryo and Melee. And this is pretty much how these two factions are fighting each other to become stronger and to dethrone the other. And pretty much that's the focus here. Although obviously the focus is on the Geki Ranger in this case. So similar to Ava Ranger, it only focuses on 3 individuals to make the entire team. From the youngest one, Jan, alongside Ran and Retsu, no sibling association of course, having to find a camaraderie with each other and become stronger with each passing battle, using their spirit animals that each one has and using it to fight the forces of evil. What I like about this season is how they use the martial arts to make each character become stronger and learn something about each other so they can be much better as teammates. So one of the few highlights that I like about this, not only from the spirit animal motif, the uses of martial arts, as well as the combination of the mech suits to become giant robots in order to fight monsters, are most likely the individual 3 characters that I like the most. The highlight are 3 characters for me in particular. First one is Jan, Geki Red, which is the youngest one on the group. Unlike, say, any other Red Ranger that we have seen in Sentai, this one is a little bit more immature and inexperienced, acting more like a kid trapped in a man's body, similar to, say, Big from Tom Hanks. But what I like about Jan is that over the course of this season, he learns to become better as not only a martial artist, but also become more matured and be more of an emotional center for the entire group. I like the fact that he, over the course of this story, becomes much better as a fighter, but also as a hero. And that's something I enjoy the most. But another ones that I enjoy even more so than the Geki Ranger are the bad guys, in particular Ryo and Melee. Ryo being the leader of the Rinjuken and having the spirit power of the Black Lion, he considers that his destiny is to fight the strongest one of them all in order to get rid of his own weakness, given that he suffered a tragic past and he uses the Rinjuken in order to become stronger. I like the fact that he contrasts his story with ones of Jan, as they are becoming more rivals and their stories collide by seeing which one becomes stronger than the other and seeing how each of them are finding ways to become strong. But it's not just Ryo that I like the most, but also his relationship with the Rinjuken, in particular Melee, the woman who is not only his second in command, but also who has the spirit power of the Green Chameleon. She was the first to pick by Ryo to become his second in command, and she falls in love with him. And she makes the conscious effort into become stronger, not only to defeat her enemies, but also to be worthy of Ryo's hand. And that is something I enjoy the most. Melee is like amazing in this episode, in this season. We see her from being comic relief to be a big threat, to be very like the focal point of an entire episode, and you understand her motivations and you get to be on her side most of the time. Her and Rios, you understand the motivations of these bad guys, and yet you want to see to come up on top. It's like taking the idea of the bad boys actually redeeming themselves by the end, and that is something that I really enjoy of this season. Not just the Geki Rangers itself, but also the Rinjuken and how they're having different ideas and different ways to fight with martial arts and spirit animals. So definitely something that it's not just a martial arts season, but also a love story and so much more. It's just definitely something that I enjoy watching over and over again. Number two, Samurai Sentai Shinkenger. Shinkenger is one of those seasons that I find it enjoyable the most because it's just awesome, funny, and dramatic all at the same time. It's pretty much the story of a group of 5 young members led by Shiba Takeru in order to fight the forces of the Gedoshu, an evil group from the underworld that are using monsters and other creatures to kill the humans in order to go up into the real world and conquer it all. So it's up to Takeru and his 4 members in order to fight these forces of evil. So, what is it about that I like about this season? Well, I like the Japanese samurai motif that they added for here. This was, in many respects, a response from Super Sentai to say that they have already done their deal with Power Rangers in America, so they want to do something from their own home country. And funny enough, the America adapted that season for Power Rangers Samurai, and that season was inferior compared to this one. But one of the things that I like the most about Samurai Sentai Shinkenger is that it's not just a story about Takeru, but also about his other members, the 4 members. Rimiosuke being the loyal Blue Ranger, ready to help his master. Mako, the Pink Ranger, being almost like a mother center to the group, always being there to support them and to support the people in need. Chiaki, the Green Ranger, always a hot-headed individual, the youngest one who wants to prove to himself and to others that he's better than Takeru. Kotoha, being a young member of the group who has a lot of self-doubt and depression, yet follows Takeru because she believes that she can become better alongside his other teammates and with him. Genta providing a lot of source of comic relief and a lot of information and weapons that the Shinkenger can use. And just overall an enjoyable season to see how each individual learns from each other, grows and supports, and that's something that I really enjoyed. The monsters are relentless and very merciless, so you feel the peril and the situation escalating. I like that they use the samurai motif, that the weapons are pretty much samurai swords that they could use into battle. They can morph them into individual weapons. My favorite one is, of course, the giant sword that Takeru uses whenever the monster is bigger and badder, and uses it as a cannon as well. I like that the swords or the mecha creatures that they use also follow the samurai or Japanese folklore and use them as, origamis. I like the fact that they use a lot of Japanese original culture from the past in order to fight in this new era. It is also the first season of Super Sentai to have much more clean aesthetics and visuals. The visuals are more HD, and the audio, if you notice, it's a lot more cleaner and more in real time rather than just do dub voicing like they usually do. Not in English, but in Japanese. They have a tendency in the past to have, recorded audio during their talks or during the situations, maybe because the audio was not good and they wanted to feel more, in the moment. But here it's allowed to be more, live and real. Like you're watching it actually happening in real time. But aesthetics aside, I just like the character dynamics. I like the monster motif being hell dimension, and I like the interactions between the Shinkangers. So definitely a season that definitely make me feel all the feelings, and I'm happy to rewatch over and over again. And the number one favorite show of Super Sentai that I enjoy the most is Gogo Sentai Boukenger. This is pretty much not new for everybody, but hear me out. This is the first season that really made me feel all the feelings. The feeling of adventure, the character interaction, the monster fights of the week of different factions, the character dynamics, the mech giant robot battles, all of that. This season was the 30th anniversary for Super Sentai, and honestly, this is the one that I feel personally connected the most because I like all the characters and I like the motif of this season. It's about five group of rangers using their vehicles and their weapons in order to find the precious items, so they can fight the monsters or to stop the bad guys from getting it for their own nefarious purposes. So what are the things that I like about this season? First of all, the theme of adventure. It's used in almost every aspect of this episode. I like the fact that the suits are pretty much about Indiana Jones-esque aesthetics. I like the fact that the vehicles are really good and powerful in their own way, but also combining them together makes it even more enjoyable. I like the villains being from different factions. I like the motif of different factions of bad guys with their own unique points of view and perspectives, finding our heroes and getting the items for themselves. I like the group of rangers. All of them are amazing on their own. The Red Ranger Chief Akashi being the calm and collected one, Sakura being the Boken Pink, the savvy, calm and collected member, and be able to assess the situation. Masumi, the hot-headed individual who learns how to work in groups. Natsuki, the Yellow Ranger, being the young girl in a woman's body, being funny and cute at the same time, and being the heart and soul of this team. Vulcan Blue, aka Sota, using all his expertise in spies to help and to defeat the bad guys. There's so many individuals that you just love in here, and the stories, and the dynamics, and the individual ways to defeat the bad guys are just something I like. But yes, it is that motif of adventure that I really enjoy the most because you feel connected. You feel that you want to be on that team because you have a sense of going into an adventure, finding the monsters and saving people and getting the items. And I just connected it the most with this season. It made me laugh. It made me cry. It made me want to go out. It made me feel a lot. And that is something that I want you to take away from this video. That this entire motif of Boukenger is something that I just enjoy the most for how it made me feel a lot. And that's at the end what I care about the most. So definitely one of the seasons that I really enjoy. I haven't been able to continue my reviews because of what happened to the sites, but hopefully by the time this video comes out, I could continue to review these shows, the ones that I started, of course. And like I said, Boukenger at this moment is having its 20th anniversary. They're not gonna do a special, of course, but they're gonna celebrate that season. And honestly, I'm just glad that this group of team is just there and being celebrated somehow. And personally, I love to see the Boukenger back together, and I just love this story. I just love these characters, these fight scenes, these bad guys, these giant robot battles. It's just something that I really enjoy. And that's why is my #1 favorite show of Super Sentai. So that's my list. What do you think about my list? Do you agree, disagree? Are you mad that I didn't include Gokaiger or any other season? Let me know in the comment section below. But please, be respectful. This is just my favorite season. I'm not here to say those seasons were bad. It's just those are the ones that I mentioned that connect to me the most and I find it more personally enjoyable. If you feel like you want to do something similar and want to give those shows their own top 5, top 10, or whatever, go ahead. I encourage you to do your own top 10 list or top 5 list. Whatever top list you want to do so and talk about which show give you the most impact. That's the point of this video. Not to say which one is the best, just to say which ones are your favorite ones. And that's something I want you to take away from this video. But hey, that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Next week, we're going back to basics as we are going to do another review. But until then, I'm Enrique, and I'll see you next time. Peace.